what you can see in all of this is the formula for tragedy, which is when you have a group of people that are tethered to a cult leader who is a psychopath, and they depend on that cult leader to think for them, to make decisions for them. And they no longer make decisions independently in large part. When that leader falls apart and decides it's the end, he or she takes their followers with them. Very often, this is the formula for a cult tragedy.
So do you think Marshall Applewhite of Heaven's Gate, did he actually believe that they were all going to be beamed up into some sort of spaceship and transcend their human meat suits? Or did he just know that this was the end and he knew that they were all just going to die?
Well, I think Applewhite, he was a deeply disturbed person. He had checked himself in and out of mental institutions. Bonnie Nettles, who was a nurse, I think that she might have been a somewhat stabilizing influence over him. And then she died from cancer and he was alone. He was getting older. I think that he imagined that he was going to die soon, and that he believed that that these people are my people and that I will take them with me. No one can know absolutely for certain if he truly believed his own hype, but I would not be surprised if he did. That he did believe that somehow he was going to transcend his humanity and take his people with him. Because you have to understand the world that Marshall Applewhite lived in for years. It was this very controlled world where they were all living together. They had no contact with the outside world, very limited. And if a person left the group to get groceries or do some errand, they would be shadowed by another person. They would not be alone. That they were isolated from their families, from their friends for years and years. I talked to the adult child of one of the people that died at Heaven's Gate, and she said to me, for so long, we didn't know where my father was. We had no clue. He had been gone for many, many years. And
Wow.
so I felt like I had lost him already. And that when we identified his body and he was there, I thought, well, this is closure. Now he's really gone. And this happened with many of these people. They were so encapsulated. They were so cut off from anyone on the outside. And I think Marshall Applewhite himself was so used to being deferred to, being worshiped like a god, being considered the ultimate mind, the ultimate intelligence on the planet, that he may have, in the end, believed it himself. And that was probably the tragic end of the group, is that he believed that this was the end that they had counted on, that he had told them would occur, and that it happened. And Luc Jouret was going through a difficult period with the Solar Temple, where people were talking about leaving, where there were questions about the group's finances. And the next thing you know, they're all dead. Because basically, it seems to me that Luc Jouret thought, rather than relinquish power, I would rather die. And if I die, I'm taking everyone with me. I am not going to be a celebrity in prison. I am going to die. And that's what Jim Jones did. And Jones is a fascinating story because at one time he was quite a celebrity. I mean, Governor Jerry Brown in the 70s was friendly with Jim Jones. Willie Brown, state assemblyman, later mayor of San Francisco, also was friends with Jim Jones. Mayor Moscone of San Francisco appointed him to a housing commission position. Jim Jones was a political player. He had thousands of followers that he could turn out. They could go door to door supporting a particular candidate. And for years, people thought that the People's Temple, which was really kind of a mega church in the Bay Area, that they were doing good things. They were working with drug addicts, helping them to get off drugs. They had a program to feed the elderly. And Jim Jones did a very good job of hiding the evil, the sinister aspects of the group. And then people started leaving because there was a great deal of abuse and exploitation in the group. And they started to tell their stories to the press, to the media. And that's when Jim Jones decided to take his most devoted followers, and he then went to Guyana. They created what became known as Jonestown, this farming community. And there he completely controlled everything, all communication with the outside world, everything. He had his own security force. When Congressman Leo J. Ryan came down there, with Jim Jones' blessings, he was there to basically address concerns of people in his district in California about the people that were family members, grandkids, nieces, nephews that were in Jonestown. And people then approached Leo J. Ryan and said, help us to get out of here. There are terrible things going on here. And we want to get out. Will you take us out when you leave? And so Ryan took some of them, and then Jones decided that he would not let them leave, and that he sent his security force, and they murdered many people, including Leo J. Ryan. And Jackie Speer, who later became a congresswoman from that same district, was on the staff of Leo J. Ryan, and she almost died. She was shot multiple times and almost bled out at the place where the plane was that was to take them out. And so what Jim Jones did in the end is he knew that it was over for him, that the police were coming from Georgetown, that he was going to have to answer for what he did. And rather than face that, he decided, like David Koresh and others, that he would kill himself, but he would take all of his followers with him. And also, I think that Jones had this anger for the people that had persuaded Ryan to come down there. And so he wanted to show them, this is what you get. Your family members will be dead and you have lost. I win. They're mine. And that is the kind of malignant narcissism that runs in the blood of a lot of cult leaders. It's really chilling to deal with some of them.